Hello, class 9 students. So today we shall begin the first chapter, The Fun They Had. That is from your textbook, a Beehive. Okay. So before I explain to you about the first chapter, The Fun They Had, let me briefly explain to you about the author of this lesson or the story. So, The Fun They Had is written by Isaac Asimov. And Isaac Asimov, he is an American writer, and he is also a professor in the Boston University. Okay, so throughout his life, he wrote or edited more than 500 books and more than 90,000 letters and postcards. Okay. Right, so students, please get ready with your textbook and grab your pencil quickly. So you will find some of the words that you do not know the meaning, so I might tell you to underline those words, and if necessary I will give you some of the words meaning as well, so please write it down. Okay, right. Anyway, before you read, so here is an introduction of the story. See, so this story was set in the future. Okay, just imagine that in future, if we do not have books and school that we are using now, perhaps those books and schools might not exist. Perhaps means might not. Okay, possibly. So when there is no books and no schools, where will the children study then? Yeah, so this is a question for you. So the diagram below may give you some ideas. Now let's look at the diagram, the pictures given below. This may give you some ideas. All right. Right. So here the boy is learning through computers. Okay. And it is a second picture. A small girl is in the classroom, but the virtual classroom, this virtual classroom where learning is through the computers, software, and internet. Okay, see, and schools of the future. So this is just an imagination. Okay, so what will be the schools of the future? And here is the teacher, a robotic teacher, and mechanical teachers. Okay, and here the last diagram, moving e-text. So what happened in the e-book or the e-text? You know, the text keeps changing on the screen. Okay, whereas yeah, let's take an example. Here we are using the real textbook, a printed one. So whatever the words are written here, it never moves. Okay, it is fixed. However, what happened? Words written on the computer screen, it keeps moving, keeps changing. So that's what happened in e-text. Okay, moving e-text. Okay, now here there are 2 points that you need to exercise or practice at home. Okay, so just discuss with your friends or with your sisters or brothers or with your parents. Write about the 3 things that about the school and that you like to change. Write them down. And the next one, see, can you imagine that when all the books will be on computers? Have you ever read television? Words in television, of course. Yeah, the computer screen. So the students, just imagine that when all the books will be on a computer, there will be no books printed on the paper, no more textbook. For example, this textbook. And would you like such books better? So would you like such books better? So would you like or would you prefer this kind of printed textbook or the words that keep moving on the computer. So would you like the real teacher, a human being teacher, or would you prefer a mechanical teacher? So students think about it. Okay. So let's see what happened in the story. Right, Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary on the page headed 17 May 2157. See, 2157. As I said this story is set in the future. Okay, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book." So that night, Margie wrote, wrote something on her diary that today, that day, 17th May 2157, Tommy found a real book. Okay. So Margie and Tommy are the two characters that we will be discussing in this chapter. Now see, now we are living in 2020, okay? So 2157 is more than 100 centuries ahead. So yes, this is about the future. So that day, Tommy found a real book. The real book. So what is real book? Let's have a look here. So the book was a very old book. This the book that Tommy has found that day, it was a very old book, and Margie's a little girl grandfather once. The one is a little okay. No, Margie's grandfather. Okay. When he was a boy. So students, please listen carefully. Okay, do not confuse here. Margie's grandfather. Here he is. Margie's grandfather. Okay, so when Margie's grandfather was a little boy, his grandfather, that means Margie's grandfather's grandfather, Margie's great grandfather. Okay, let's flip the page. Right, I told him that there was a time when all the stories were printed on a paper. So when Margie's grandfather was small boy, his grandfather told him, Margie's grandfather, okay, that there was a time when all the stories were printed on the paper, okay. So those were the days, or there was a time when everything was printed on the paper that we are using at present. But what will happen in the future? No more printed books. We might be using, perhaps, okay, only the computers. Okay, so let's go to the next paragraph. They turned the pages which were yellow and crinkly. Crinkly means a fold or lines, a crushed one, okay? But then it was awfully funny to read words that stood still. You may underline the word stood still. Those two words, please underline it, stood still. Okay. Of moving the way they were supposed to on the screen, and then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. Okay, right. So Margie and Tommy, they were sitting together, okay, at that time. So when they turned the pages, the old book that Tommy has found, the book was very old. It was yellow in color, all crushed. See, full of foldings and lines on it. And it was very funny comparing to the letters that appears on the computer screen. As I said, the letters on the computers appears on the screen keeps moving, whereas the words or the letters printed on that old book, okay, stood still. That means they do not move. So the writer is comparing between the printed books and the computerized text messages, okay? And when they turn back to the page before, when they flip back, turn back to the same, the page on the printed book, it has the same word. The words never change, okay? But what happened on the screen, computer screen, the words keep on changing. I hope you are clear.